welcome to some more stuff and things. My name is Jenine Lillian, and I am a neurodiversity consultant and educator. I am joined today by a true kindred spirit who is also swimming around this domain, and I want to introduce us in a whole fresh way. So I'm going to kick it over to Lacey first to talk about names, and then I'll do my piece. Welcome, Lacey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Oh, you just want me to jump right into the name stuff?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you for being here. Okay, Lacey.
Yeah, so you wanted to talk about names, and I'm happy to. As I told you beforehand, I've had a number of people comment on my name, and some people have thought that I'm Greek, which I'm not. Some people thought that I must be like super nerdy about Greek mythology, which I'm not. The honest answer, I just thought the name sounded cool. I was aware that it was a Greek god, but that's about as far as it went. And yeah, Lacey I chose also. They're both chosen names. And I chose Lacey very straightforward reason here. I wanted a distinctly feminine name that was not already super common and overused. Like when I transitioned, there was already a million Sarahs and Katies and
Yeah.
Sophies and all these things and Jessicas. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be, I don't want to have to be the thing like in grade school, like Jessica C and Jessica F and Jessica Z. Like, I just want to be someone who doesn't have, so Lacey worked. And I also happen to like lace as a fabric and as a, fashion thing. So it works.
That is so awesome. And I mean, just it's such a powerful combination in general. And you're such a powerful person. I think you did really well on this front. And I'm glad to give people a chance to hear some of your thought process. For me, my birth name has always been Janine, and I go by Janine, and I use Janine as my main pronoun. But Lillian is a chosen, legally changed name. And it is to honor the woman who was sort of my adopted mom figure, my chosen mom, chosen family, when she died in 1998. I always knew her as Frederica, and she had lots of names. But I learned after she died, when I was going through papers and diaries and photographs, that Lillian was actually her first name and what she used as a little kid. So I changed my last name to Lillian because I never knew her as that. And then it never made me sad. And now I just feel like she'd be so glad the way I'm wearing it. So, yes, the power of chosen names. I recommend to anyone to consider that if you've got a name that really doesn't feel good to you, or it feels like a weight to you, or if you want to change, make a big change in your life and let everybody know, like that is one of the fastest, cheapest ways to do it. And it's so powerful just to walk around with this. I chose this. I am this person, right?
Yeah, I had kind of the inverse of you because I changed my legal last name as well, and my father was not very happy about that. But it's not his life, it's not his
That's
name.
right. It's your name. People always have the feelings. They do. They do. It's true. And people often think that my brother and I are like half siblings because he has a different last name. And so it's quite funny what, all of these presuppositions that we carry around. So yes. Well, welcome so much, Lacey. Lacey is doing neurodiversity consulting and presenting, and so am I, but in very different venues and formats. And I just wanted to invite Lacey to join us today because we've been having lots of different stories and voices of experience, and I want to give more forum for that. So, Lacey, whatever you'd like to talk about, we can start off.
Yeah, so I know that neurodiversity consulting is starting to become more of a thing. I have met a lot of people online and in person that do it. But yeah, I think I seem to have stumbled into a pretty unique niche of it. So I started a company a little over a year ago now. And the original intent was because I'm autistic and ADHD and I have sensory issues, predominantly, it's actually kind of ironic. I am both sensitive to sound and partially hard of hearing. You wouldn't think that those two would go together, but they do. Kind of like how autism and ADHD are opposite in some ways, but they can still go together. But I would go to a lot of events and I would just be frustrated, particularly most often by just music being too loud and having to yell to have a conversation. I'm like, this is supposed to be a social event. Why do we have to yell? And I would talk to other people, and I would always find other people that would have either that complaint or other complaints. And like, but no one, it's the sort of thing that people will complain about, but no one was doing anything about it. And I was like,
Yep.
so initially it was like, okay, well, there needs to be more events because people are craving in-person connection really badly, including myself. And
Hmm.
I want there to be more events that I can go to and not be annoyed that have to wear earplugs and I have like I come out of there, I'm just like fried because I've been doing all this
Yeah.
extra sensory processing. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start hosting events and I'm gonna keep that in mind. And I have friends who are wheelchair users, so I'm like, I want to make them both physically accessible
Yes.
and sensory accessible. And as I told you in the pre-show, I quickly learned that being an independent event organizer is one, a lot of freaking work, and
Yep.
two, doesn't pay very well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
not exactly the most viable career path. And through some conversation with some different people, it was like, well, the core of what you are trying to do is very important, and that
Yeah.
needs to be, it needs to become more of a thing. So why don't you like try to work with other organizations and other venues and event runners to get them to make these changes? And I was
Yeah.
like, hmm, I hadn't really considered that, but I think that could possibly work. And thus, Neuromix Consulting was born.
Yay! I love
Um,
that so much. I just want to high five those people. Like sometimes we just need somebody to go, how about this?
you know what? I'm gonna do him a solid. Jeff Bikes of Candor Diversity Group. He is technically the one that, gave me that basically was like, off the cliff you go.
Thank
So,
you.
and yeah, like, so I call myself a sensory specialist. That's the title I've started using because I have a background in music and video production. I've been doing that
Oh,
off and on for over 20 years. Music production, audio engineering, like I'm not the world's foremost expert, but that's the thing I know the most about of all the things that I'm kind of nerdy and actually have my hands in. So like I can explain a lot of things about the acoustics and why things are like why certain frequencies are a problem because of blah blah blah.
amazing.
And but I don't explain that to people because a lot of people would be, they
Yeah.
so, but I took that and I also, because more recently so I've got these, which if you're not familiar, these, for anyone who might be listening and not watching, these are a pair of glasses. They're not prescription, but they have red lenses in them and
Yes,
they're
I know
blue
some
light
folks that have
blocking.
those. Yeah,
And a friend of mine turned me onto these a couple of years ago because I've had like headache and migraine issues for years. And these things are a lifesaver. And so I started to kind of like learn a little bit more about sort of the light side of things and like
Mhm.
why blue light and certain parts of the spectrum have certain effects. And because I've just one of my special interests is just learning how things work and why. So once I started to go into the sensory realm of like, well, I already know a lot about the audio stuff. I've learned a little bit about the light stuff. What else can I learn? Like I'm curious now. I want, and so I can just become this sort of expert, or well, not expert, 'cause I'm not gonna be able to
Yes.
get that, but that's why I say like sort of a sensory specialist because I've developed this literally in the last kind of couple of months. I've developed this proprietary system, this methodology to go to spaces, to go to events, and to take measurements and to do an assessment. I call them smart audits because you have to have a good marketing term, and I do this and I write a report and I give it a score and I can tell them here's where you were strong, here's where you're weak, here's how you can do better, and like it doesn't all have to be super expensive. So, and I also facilitate sensory break spaces at events and conferences. So. Um, I know that that already exists. Some people do that, but it does seem to be a really underserviced area. So
Yes.
I'm happy that, again, my particular background and experience and inclinations and everything just fits there right nicely, and I'm happy.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm just hearing you talk about this. Like when I used to do conventions and conferences, especially when I'd be presenting to a lot of people or trying to get to different working committees and then the different talks, it's just like it was just full on exhaustion. And I didn't know at that time how my brain worked. It was kind of before people knew about what kind of learner, visual learner, auditory learner. And now we're getting into like what kind of neurotype are you? I just feel like there's all these layers of if you can do one thing that's going to make it easier for you, if you can practice self-care in one way, a lot of it is preparation too. And I spent a lot of time in the washroom, like in the stall, doing a power pose, going, And sometimes that's like the best thing ever. But drinking lots of water and just taking those breaks, stepping outside and getting fresh air, closing your eyes. I love the glasses. I have met a number of people who are using those and they've said they've really helped them. I wear trifocals and I have they turn into sunglasses when I go outside. So my glasses get quite dark and that makes me so happy.
They
Oh,
also make clip-ons,
oh! I
so
love
you
how it's
can wear them
totally
over
kitted out.
sunglasses. Oh, I have lights and stuff. I have spent over $2,000 on their products. That's how good they are. They
I
legitimately
believe it.
work.
I
So,
believe it. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. And it's just so helpful, like we find something and then usually it's somebody who really cares about us or struggles with a similar thing and says, "Hey, just like you just did, like this is a game changer for me." Like I absolutely think that it's more valuable than like a product sponsor or an ad or something, right? And we do this in our communities all the time. And so I like how it's been able to translate that we still have this connection. And also one of the things you said earlier too is like it's supposed to be like a social event, a connection event. And we have all these barriers to access physical disabilities, visible disabilities, and invisible disabilities. And sometimes, often, people don't know what they're coming in with either. And so it's very hard to identify, I need this from you in order to succeed. So anything anybody can do ahead of time is so lovely, from putting up a directional sign, making it more clear where the washrooms are, or how to orient yourself, wayfinding. All of these things are a part of that experience. And if it's done really well, you don't give it a thought. But like you said, a lot of people like, complain. I think it's wonderful that you're doing that.
It's what you just said is actually key because I can't remember the context that I've heard this in before. Oh, right. So I've heard it said, I think one of the contexts I've heard this in is if it, like for stage plays and stuff or for theater, if the stage manager is doing their job well,
Yep.
you have no idea that they're even there. And I feel like the same thing is true of accessibility. If you walk into a space and you don't even have to think about any of it, you just get to exist and like they
Mhm.
did it well because when you walk in it's like wow the lights are too bright and the music's too loud and like it's just all these things like it's distracting and it does like I call it it's like it inhibits like overwhelm inhibits connection and
Oh,
the point
absolutely.
and like if you want people to like stay at your event and like I've actually been collecting survey data. I've got a custom survey that I have open that people have been filling out and um, the data is showing me what I already knew. I'm just now actually putting numbers to it that, um, like, was it, so I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but
It's okay.
it's been like there's this I think it was like 40% or 45% maybe of people that have done the survey have said that they have left events
Yeah.
early at least once. And I had a question in there, or I have a question in there because I know, like I said, people will talk about it
Mhm.
sort of to each other. And it's like, how comfortable would you be bringing this up either to the host of an event or to venue
Yeah.
staff if you have a problem? 83% have said they would not be comfortable. And I'm like,
Yep.
so yeah, that's a problem.
It is. It is. And this is part of the reason why, how you said earlier, like some more people are doing the same type of, the same title or the same type of stuff, but we're all doing it in a really different way and often in different domains, right? And so, that's what actually makes the work we do advocacy, because we
Mm,
are the ones who won't sit quiet anymore about it, right? Like I'm carrying the I'm on the shoulders of everyone who came before me, and I'm voicing these issues when I can risk it, right? I don't have to worry about being fired or about having my workload dumbed down. I can be out and proud about being autistic and about advocating for this accessibility and inclusion and what it actually looks like, right? A lot of, especially small business owners or large corporations, they tend to just go automatically to, I need a really expensive wheelchair ramp. And it's like accessibility is way more than that. Um, and when you've got your really expensive wheelchair ramp, that does not mean that you're now suddenly fully accessible. And also the culture within, right? So when I'm doing presentations and workshops with large employers and their teams, the originally the employers will hire me because they want to give better service to their clients. So they want their staff to have this, but it always ends up being that the training was actually for the staff to feel better with the staff and with themselves, right? You know this. So, it's almost like like what I'm doing. Some people call it this, but I'm actually doing this, you know. And the other thing you were saying is like, you know, overwhelm was it diminishes connection,
Inhibits.
inhibits connection. So whether you go to a great event or not, you're going to come out tired, no matter who you are, right? And so just being bombarded extra makes it even more difficult to survive. I mean, there's been times when I just have like 4 lost days after, which is part of the reason why I do everything on Zoom now, because even this is depleting. It's wonderful and it's nourishing and it's also depleting. And people are like,
Mhm.
hey, how can you do both? Oh, I can do so many things. You know what I'm saying? And I have to step into my persona, right? So that I can make sense and think of things quickly, and then I step out of it and I have my calm down state. Thank God. but but the other thing we can think of in terms of like mindlessness and mindfulness, like distractions. Think about driving, for example. Distractions like alerts on the phone or you know, external sounds or music or kids in the car kicking the seat, whatever it is, that distracts us from being mindful and pulls us more toward mindlessness. And this is a kind of disconnection, right? This is a kind of we're in the present moment and then we're elsewhere. So I think what you're talking about is really a core human need. And it's not even about events, right? Like we're coming up on holiday season soon, and there's going to be plenty of times when people do not feel safe giving feedback, you know, safe asking for what they need, whether it's food restrictions or sensory issues or just having some quiet downtime, you know. So my focus is really self-care in all of the situations, but especially like be with yourself for yourself. And that's really hard when you first start out. Like I used to make rest work. and, and now I make it my work to rest. But it took like decades, right? So I think what you're facilitating is really a new way for us to be connected with each other and ourselves and experiences. And like I don't enjoy going to events, but I want to go to one of your events. It's like now on my bucket list. I hope you come to my province. So
Yeah, well, so like you were kind of alluding to there, so I know I mentioned I'm autistic and ADHD and then the hard of hearing thing. So I also have an intermittent physical disability. So I sometimes either wear a knee brace or I use a cane. That's pretty infrequent, but so I actually do have lived experience with multiple different
yeah,
disabilities. And then, of course, my friends that I know that have other disabilities that I don't. So that's again why when I was getting into this, I'm like, well, I don't just want quieter events. I want
right.
events that my friends can come to as well.
Yeah,
And so I'm not big on like I don't really use the word holistic all that much, but it's apparently pretty fitting of what I'm sort of the way I'm looking at this, and the way I'm approaching
yeah,
this, because I have this graphic. It's up on my site and it's up on my Instagram, because as I was building this model that I've built, like I was aware of OSHA and I was aware of some of the other
yeah.
existing standards, and I'm like, well, I don't actually like I don't know them all off by heart, so I don't really know everything that's part of them. So I had to do some research to find out how my what I was building related to them. It's like, well, I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I'm suing you because you just ripped off OSHA. I don't want that to happen. So
Yeah.
I did the research, and the great thing is that apparently what I'm doing is either like adding on to what those already do, or it's addressing things from a different angle, or addressing something that they don't cover. So
Mhm.
I'm happy to know that it's like, yeah, this is a gap and it
Mhm.
does need to be filled. And I hope that what I'm building can like the dream would be for it to become a new, like widely accepted standard,
Yeah.
but who knows?
I believe in the dream, you know, baby steps, micro steps to each goal, and you know, connecting with people, and you know, like you and I getting connected and meeting now I'm going to share your information with folks and people are going to see this, and even if they're not working in this sphere, you know, I think it's very inspirational to hear a different perspective, to see different perspectives, and you know, to have like I feel there's no better time, especially if you're disabled, to be an entrepreneur. Do your thing, you know, maybe ask a trusted source to help you go from like, I'm looking at it, and it can only be, you know, to this. Because that's how both Lacey and I, you know, basically got a trusted source who said, you know, yeah, you want to do it this way and you want to find this out in the world and it might not exist yet. So you got to make it. And, you know, yeah, I was resistant. However, it's turned out to just be amazing, and I'm meeting people from all over the world, and I'm, getting to collaborate on projects, and it's just the beginning, right? It can only grow. Lacey, yours too, I think. And, so I guess my words of encouragement for folks is, if you really are interested in starting something to make sustainable employment for yourself and make a change in the world, feel free to reach out to either of us, or someone in your community that you trust, and ask, like, hey, what do you think it would look like? Or what would you say I would be really good at? Having these conversations starts the juices flowing, and there's really no limit to what we can do. Of course, it's not necessarily like making millions of dollars, but it's not all about that. I don't know what I would do with a million. Anyway, that's another show. So, Lacey, wanted to ask you, do you have any words of encouragement for others who might identify with your experiences that you shared today?
When you broached that question to me earlier, I kind of was thinking about it, and what sort of immediately came to mind for me was like a big part of my frustration in my career, believe it or not, I used to be an accountant by day. That was the autism.
I love that.
But I just found, especially as like I evolved and grew as a person and I developed all these other skills on the side, because I've always been an artist, I've always been creative, and there was just never a place for that at work. And I kept being frustrated that I was like, I had to live this double life, and it was really like I was like, one day I'm gonna figure this out. I'm either gonna merge the two, or I'm gonna find a way to get out of this thing and get fully
Yeah.
into that thing. And I still have a pinky toe left in the old world, but I'm working on it. But my basically what I was going to say is I kept getting frustrated because I kept like waiting, not waiting, but like people wouldn't give me the opportunities that I was either asking for or seeking, or like if somebody was already doing a thing and I'm like, "Oh, I love that. I want to be involved with that. Can I help you? Can I like whatever?" And surprisingly, a lot of times they said like thanks but no thanks. And I
Yeah.
so I my whole creative career is littered with examples of somebody saying, like, no, we don't really need help with this. And be like, well, I want to do this, so I'm going to go do it. And so I've done all these projects that I was just like, I just wanted to do it. And nobody would let me work on theirs with them. So, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am. A lot of neurodivergent people, we do have to just be like, okay, no one's going to give you the opportunity. You just have to kick
Yeah.
open the door and be like, I'm carving out this space for myself.
Yes.
And it's not easy, believe me. It's very
Yeah.
not easy. I am going to have such a tell-all book after all this is done.
I can't wait. I'm gonna
Um,
get the audio on that one. Yeah.
but
Oh, it's amazing. I feel a
yeah,
lot of times we're like drawing a door for ourselves, right? And
yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
amazing just
hard, but
having
like
that.
I was just having a call with somebody actually earlier this morning, and we were saying how like for some of us there is no other option. Like we realize I was always miserable and burnt out when I was trying to like, fit into the square peg into the round hole.
Same.
And now it's like, yeah, this is a lot of work, and it has its days that I'm just like, I want to cry, but like I would still 9.9 times out of 10, I would still rather be doing this and struggling in this way than struggling on someone else's terms. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe that if each of us can just be more and more our authentic selves, it's going to get better, and it'll be less of a strange thing to be doing. But I love that, like making space for ourselves, right? A lot of us, we do that for other people. We make it really welcoming for someone else to be with us in our home, in our classrooms, in our events, right? Making a space for ourselves when it's just us, and we get to design our present and future, and taking those risks. We have more energy when we are standing in that place, right?
mhm.
And I love that so much about you and what you do. And also I've had incredible results in a very short amount of time that I never could have foreseen. And it's just going to grow. Wanted to ask you, last but not least, Lacey, what next steps would you like folks to take after hearing your interview today? Anything at all?
Hmm. Um, that one I didn't think as hard of before.
That's okay.
Uh, I mean, I guess like it feels self-serving to kind of say like, well, if you know any places that you think would be interested in my services, I mean, yeah, I would love to come either facilitate or speak or do an event or consult, whatever.
Absolutely.
I am, like I said, I am still an artist and creator, loosely speaking. I do mostly kind of graphic design these days, but it's a little bit of video stuff as well. And hoping to get back into music soon.
Oh, cool.
So you can check out some of that stuff maybe if you're interested. I
Awesome.
don't.
I will put the information on how to reach out to either of us in the notes on the video on YouTube as well.
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
let's see oh, sorry. Did you have another one?
Uh, whatever that was that just popped in and popped out of my head. You know, the
Sorry.
ADHD.
Who can relate? That was unintentional, but yes, I'm sure other people are like, oh yeah, done that about 17 times today. Let's see, next steps in terms of what I think, just, be really excellent in terms of caring for yourself and be gentle with that really harsh critical voice, your inner critic voice, because a lot of people say things they think are nice to say and they want to say something and be supportive and it doesn't land that way. So yeah, go ahead. Lacey's got it. Go.
So this is the ADHD totally in action. Normally, it's like after we've hung up or after I've left the event, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about this thing. So I know I just said that I do graphic design. I actually do have a Redbubble store, and it does have a bunch of different neurodiversity related designs on it. So if you maybe wanted to get like a mug or a shirt or a hat or some stickers or something, again, like this feels so self-serving, but like I suck at promoting stuff, so
Yeah, it's sales is hard. Sales is hard. That's another show. But yes, thank you. And I will put the information on how to contact Lacey and how to contact me should you like to do so. And if you would like to be featured in the interview with actual neurodiverse people, please feel free to reach out to me as well. Oh my gosh, Lacey, thank you so, so much. I can't wait to watch your business grow and to collaborate with you more in future. And I just really appreciate you bringing your whole self here and sharing it with whomever might stumble upon our interview today.
thanks so much for having me on and letting me tell my story.
You are so welcome.